If someone was helping you make billions upon billions of dollars a year, would you pay them? I think I would. Today I'm going to talk about why I believe college athletes should be paid. I'm going to bring up three main points, and I'm also going to talk about other people who refute this. The three main points I will talk about today on why college athletes should be paid are: number one, I will talk about the fact that they work 40 hours a week on minimum, which is a full-time job. The second thing I will talk about is that the coaches get paid, but the players don't. And the final factor that I will talk about today will be the fact that college athletes generate so much revenue for these institutions. Now let's discuss why I believe college athletes should be paid and why they are so valuable to these programs. According to College Sports Madness, college athletes work a minimum of 40 hours per week. That's included with training, games, film, etc. But I can tell you from my experience working with FAU Film that these college athletes work way more than 40 hours per week during the season. At FAU, they go from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. They do things like film, practice, and then they go into the training room. You have to think about that for a second. That's a really long day. That's longer than most people work in a day, and they're not getting paid to do that. I don't really think that's right, because when you have a full-time job and you work those types of hours, you get paid. So I don't think it's fair to not pay them. And I understand that some people will argue the fact that, they shouldn't get paid because they're already getting full ride scholarships. Well, I don't think that's a fair argument, because even though they are getting full ride scholarships, there's also other people in school that aren't playing sports that are also getting full ride scholarships and that have jobs on campus, and they're getting paid for those jobs on campus, but the athletes are not. My second point I'm going to talk about today will be the fact that the coaches get paid and the players don't. The coaches at major universities get paid millions upon millions of dollars per year, and the students don't take home anything. Coaches like Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, they get paid millions of dollars a year, and they have some of the most successful programs in college football, or in college football, and the players don't take home anything. The Post-Gazette talked about that a lot. They talked about the fact that it's not fair for the coaches to be paid and not have the athletes be paid. If you look at the professional sports level, it has a lot of different factors into it. The coaches get paid and the players get paid. In fact, the players get paid more per average than the coaches. I'm not suggesting that for college football. I'm just saying that I believe that the players should be paid as well, because I think it's fair. If the coaches are being paid, the players should be paid, because without the players, the coaches wouldn't have their jobs. And some people may argue, the coaches have a bigger impact on the game than the players do. The reason I don't agree with that is because you see so many guys from college go to the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, this and that. You see so many of those guys go into professional sports, and then you see those programs being built up year after year because certain guys went to those programs. You see programs like Florida State. They had Jameis Winston for a little while, and that's what led to their success. And they were good a couple years after that. Right now they're on a downfall, but you see programs having guys. Mariota was there for a long time. When he left, they brought in more guys because they saw, this is a guy who's in the NFL. He's making millions of dollars. He went to the University of Oregon and he had success there, and he's had success in the NFL. So if that's the case, maybe I'll go to that school too. So when kids go to schools, it motivates other kids to also go to those schools and to make them better. While the coaches do motivate them, I think the players have the biggest factor in motivating others to come to their school. If it wasn't for the athletes, these schools wouldn't make the amount of money they make. In 2019, the NCAA reported that they made around $18.9 billion just from sports. That's a crazy number to think about. You have to understand that such a high percentage of the money that they make comes from their athletics. So when you look at other things in life and you say, these are the things that generate the most money, these are the things that are the most valuable according to the general public, usually those people make the most money. Not always, but usually. So that's another reason why I don't think it's fair for these athletes to not get paid anything. Big football institutions like the University of Alabama, almost 60% of their money that they generate per year comes from only their football program, and that's according to Alabama.com. So just think about that number. And that's not even including other sports like basketball and baseball and tennis. It's not including any other sports, and it's not even including any of the women's sports either. This is just football. Generates 60%. So let's imagine those other sports, and this is probably a bare minimum, generate about 15%. That's around 75% of University of Alabama's money that they generate every year comes from just athletics. But the rest of the 25% comes from tuition and other things of that nature. It comes from tuition, alumni donation, and things like that. But the majority of the money for most schools comes from their athletic program. So technically, they would be the most valuable people on the campus, but they're not getting paid, while other people on campus are getting paid. A big law got passed at the end of last year in the state of California. LeBron James was very influential in this law. He had the mayor on his show, Uninterrupted, the mayor of California on his show, Uninterrupted. He came on his show and he signed the bill that college athletes could make money off endorsements and player likeness. This will go into effect in 2023, as I said before. But this was a huge law because this is like the starter to getting to where we want to get to pay college athletes. LeBron even went as far as to go on Twitter and demand that if you're voting, that you vote yes for the law that allows college athletes to get paid by the colleges, because he talked about how much work they put in, how tough it is for them to put all this work in all the time, and how much dedication they put into it, how much money they really are worth. In the end, today I think I brought up 3 really great points. I talked about the fact that coaches get paid and players don't. I talked about the amount of revenue that college sports brings in. And I also talked about the fact that they basically work full-time jobs with a minimum of 40 hours per week. I hope for anyone that has a differentiating point, I hope that they, by watching this speech, I hope that, your opinion maybe changed a little bit or differed a little bit. And if it didn't, I think you should do a little bit more research on it just to kind of get a little bit more facts on why something like this should be passed. Because if you really think about it, college athletes are super valuable to a college's tuition, to a college's income. They're super valuable. Millions of people watch them every year and follow them and talk about them. And I don't really think it's fair for them to not be paid, but you're paying coaches, etc.